Hello everybody. Again we are going to carry on our Flash lessons. Today we are going to see another structure, the passive voice. As you can see, most of our pupils generally don't know exactly why we use the active or why do we use the passive voice, and they think we are always teaching them these type of structures just to give them exercises or to ask them such exercises during their exams. But in fact, it is a structure we use every day in our language, even in other languages, in Arabic or in French. We first, before we go to see the different forms and how to transform from active to passive or to go back from passive to active, I want to tell you why exactly we use the passive voice. First, the active, of course, generally is the sentences we use most. Generally, we have a subject, a verb, and an object. You can consider that this subject, when the sentence is active, the active form, comes first, is put at the beginning. We call it an actor. An actor means the thing or the person that acts, that does this action. The verb represents the action, okay, and the object is the particle acted on. Acted on. Acted on, it may also be a person or a thing. Sorry, the active. What is the passive voice? The passive, the form generally, is the particle that it acted on comes first, object, which becomes object plus verb, action, and this actor, I put it between brackets because generally we don't need it in fact, because the passive voice itself is built on or is focusing on the action and on the particle or the part of the sentence acted on the object. Why do we use the active voice? I am going to clean that. Of course, it is a video. You can rewind and check again. Why do we use the passive? Why do we use the passive? Of course, sometimes I want to explain more and use a little bit Arabic. The passive voice تشبه في اللغة تاعنا في العربية المبني للمجهول. دونك كاين مجهول. المجهول هو الفاعل اللي يقوم بالفعل. So the actor. The first cause why we use the active or the passive voice is when the actor, or sometimes we call it the doer, is unknown. Unknown. The actor is unknown. For example, we're going to take examples from the different units you have in your syllabus for third year students. For example, first unit, civilization. The cave paintings. The cave paintings are Tassili. Okay, in the Tassili we can find paintings, engravings dating from prehistory. So the cave paintings of tasili were made in the upper Old Stone Age. In the upper Old Stone Age. Now, you can consider that when we read the sentence, we don't know who painted, who did these paintings, and we can understand also that it is unknown. It is very old. Of course, the paintings were done by man, but who? So the question is always, who did the action? If we don't know who did the action, we use the passive voice. Number 2, the actor or the doer is irrelevant. What do you mean is irrelevant? Irrelevant means it has not a lot of importance. It is, so to mention it or not to mention it is irrelevant. Because what is important in my sentence is the action and the particle on which we did the action. It means where we acted on, the person we acted on, or the thing we acted on. For example, an exceptional power plant using solar energy, solar power plant, an exceptional solar power plant will be built in the Algerian Sahara. In the Algerian Sahara. So we can consider from the sentence itself that exceptional solar power plant is the most important thing we are going to speak about in this sentence, and that it will be built soon in the Algerian Sahara. But who is going to build it? A company, another coming from another country or an Algerian country? It doesn't mean a lot of things. What is important in my sentence is that a solar power plant of course is a plant, a factory, a big factory that generates electricity using solar energy, or solar power. Alright? So, we go to the third case in which we use the passive voice. So, to ignore the actor. It means that the speaker or the writer wants to write or wants to speak about something, wants to ignore, wants to neglect the actor on purpose. It means that sometimes we know who did the action, we have this information, we know who did this, but I don't want to give it a lot of importance, so I keep it to the end, or I don't mention it at all. For example, mistakes were made. But I don't say who did mistakes. Oh, it is a kind of, though I know that there are mistakes, I know that mistakes are done by people, but I don't want to focus on the doer, on the actor. I want to focus on mistakes. Mistakes were done. That's okay. I don't want to know who did the mistakes. The most important thing is that there are some mistakes and we want to correct these mistakes. For example, in an administration or in a company, at school or everywhere. Number 4. Talking about a general truth. Talking about a general truth. But when we have a general truth, generally we don't want for example, to emphasize more on the doer. It is a fact. It is something we cannot change. So what is important is the information. Who did it is not important. For example, if someone asks you, where is Algeria situated? And you tell him, Algeria is situated in Africa. Is situated is a passive verb, the present simple, and we have already told you that the present simple is generally used to express facts, truth, reality. Whether it is in the passive or the active, it depends. Here we are speaking about the passive voice, a general truth. Algeria is situated. Who situated Algeria in Africa? This is to you to answer. Of course, we know that it is God. Allah put Algeria in Africa. So it is not something or an information that is very important to mention. From the moment all people, everybody knows who did that. For example, Algeria is situated or located in North Africa. In North Africa. This is a general truth. That Algeria is situated in North Africa is a general truth, though generally we use the passive, we don't use the active. We don't need to mention the doer or to mention the actor. Number 5, to emphasize or to focus on, تأكيد على. To emphasize on the person or the thing acted on, not the person or the thing who acted on, or who was acted on. For example, insulin, تعرفوها الانسولين. Insulin was first discovered. Here is my verb. First discovered is just not verb here. Insulin was first discovered in 1921. By, here I mentioned the actor, but at the end of the sentence means that, as you know, that words or things mentioned at the beginning of the sentence are more important than words or things mentioned at the end of the sentence. When I put something at the end, it means that I want to focus on the first part and neglect the second part. If I want to focus on the actor, I use the actor. By researchers at the university University of Toronto, for example, in Canada. So, when you read the sentence, you get the information that insulin was discovered in 1921. Who discovered it? Researchers, of course. We don't give names. From the moment I don't want to emphasize on the actor, but if I have a name, for example, Doctor or Professor, I don't know who, Johnson, or I want to emphasize on him, I say, Dr. Johnson discovered insulin in 1921, and this is more logical to use the active voice to emphasize on the doer. Here I don't want to emphasize on the doer, I want to emphasize on the person or on the thing acted on here, which is insulin. These are the different cases. Here we'll have 5 cases in which we are not obliged, but we are preferable to use the passive voice. Here, for example, we want to emphasize, I'll give you another example. Imagine you are traveling with your friends in your car, and suddenly the car broke down. Fortunately, one of your friends is a mechanic, so that's a good thing. He is going to repair or to fix the car. While he was fixing the car, your friends were having a rest there, drinking some water or some coffee, and when he finished repairing the car, he turned it on, and you are going to tell your friends to come to carry on your journey. What are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them, Hamid, who is the mechanic who repaired the car, Hamid repaired the car, come on, let's go? Or the car is repaired and you neglect Hamid from the moment he is your friend, one of your friends, and everybody here knows that he is a mechanic and he is able to repair the car. So it is preferable in this case to use the passive voice. But imagine Hamid, who is a real mechanic, who repairs cars every day, who fixes cars every day, cannot or could not repair it, could not fix it. And one of your friends who had never touched screwdriver, who knows nothing about mechanics, told him to, let me try, I am going to fix it, and surprisingly he repaired it. And in this case you want to focus on, for example, Karim, who is not a mechanic and who could repair it. And what are you going to tell your friends? Come on, let's go, Karim repaired the car. And use the active voice here because you want to focus on Karim, who is not a mechanic and who could repair the car. This is an example in which I want you just to understand why sometimes we use the active and why other times we use the passive voice. Let's move now to what you are interested more on, how to transform from active to passive. Of course, I am going to tell you beforehand that it is very important to have an idea about the tenses, because we need to know the different forms of tenses for each of the verbs we generally know. So I have to clean the board for this time, just to go through the passive form of the verb. Okay, so the passive form of the verb. Why do we use the passive? It's okay. We use it for different cases. The passive or the passive form of the verb form in the passive. You can consider here that we have some examples, and you can consider that, look here, to the verbs, all the verbs are the same structure. What is this? This is to be. And what's this? This is the past participle of the verb. Here also be, here also past participle. Here also be and past participle. So we can consider that the past participles keep the same. Discovered, situated here, because these verbs are regular verbs. Made here is an irregular verb, so it has a different form. But what changed is to be. To be here is where, here is, and here was. So what makes to be change? It is, of course, tense. So what is the form of the verb in the passive voice? Is be plus past participle. Past participle. So past participle of the verb, of course. To be always takes that tense. Tense. So if tense changes, to be changes. Past participle of the verb keeps the same. I am going to give you some examples to have an idea. For example, the government will issue stricter laws to fight corruption, for example. This sentence has got a subject, or it is active. The verb is in the future form, and stricter laws is the object. To fight corruption is a complement. It keeps the same, it doesn't change. We can put it in the same place, whether either in the active form or in the passive form. So what I need to keep my sentence correct in the passive voice are three elements: the subject, the verb, and the object. If I want to transform the sentence from active to passive, I need to, of course, focus on the person or thing acted on. So the person or thing acted on is the object. Here it is a thing, stricter laws. Now, stricter laws, alright, becomes first. Then the verb. I know beforehand that the form of the verb in the active, in the passive voice is be plus past participle. My verb here is the verb to issue. It is used with will because it is in the future form, or the will future. To be takes the tense. Here I have the future. The future goes to be. So I am going to write to be in the future. Will be. Because will is an auxiliary model. After auxiliary models you have always the infinitive. Will, infinitive. Will, infinitive. This is the future of the verb to issue. Here we have the future of the verb to be. Plus the past participle of the verb to issue will be issued. And then, if you want to mention the actor, the doer, you could add it using preposition by. By the government. And in this case, whether you mention it using by plus the actor plus the agent or not, you are free. If you want to mention it, it is at the end of the sentence and we understand as readers that you want to neglect the importance of the verb and to give more importance to the particle or to the part of the sentence acted on, the person or the thing acted on. And in this case, my sentence is correct. I have transformed it from active to the passive. And of course, you can consider that tense doesn't change. Here we have the verb to issue in the future. Here we have the verb to issue in the future passive. Another example, just to have an idea about how to change from active to passive. For example, they have collected enough money. So we said the most important parts of the sentence I need to transform from active to passive is or are the subject, the verb and the object. So what is different here is the form of the verb, have collected. Here we have will issue. Here it is the future, here it is another tense. And we do the same thing. The tense used in the active sentence goes to be. And the verb itself, the verb to collect, becomes the past participle. Which tense is used here? This is what I told you. You have to know all the different forms of tenses. The form, of course, simple tenses, present simple, past simple, it's okay. We have no problem, but sometimes you have a problem with like here, for example, we have the present perfect, or perfect tenses, just present and past. It's very easy. And continuous tenses, the present continuous, and the past continuous. Oh. Perfect. I don't tell you whether it is present or past. Have plus past participle. So, here also, it is the same thing. It is always the auxiliary that changes tense. If have is in the present, have or has, with he, she and it is the present perfect. If it is in the past, have becomes had and we have the past perfect. Continuous is the same thing. Continuous. In continuous we have be plus present participle. So present participle is verb plus ing. The verb plus ing is called the present participle, and verb plus ed is called past participle. Here also we have another auxiliary. You are auxiliary to have, you are auxiliary to be. Some of you can tell me that something is similar, but I can tell you that nothing is similar. To be here and here is different. This is to be for the continuous tense of any verb, verb to go. I am, he is, she is, going. Verb to drink. I am, he is, she is, drinking, etc. And here we have the past participle. So be plus past participle, it is always the form of the verb in the passive voice. It has nothing to do with the different other forms of tenses. Here also, to be, if it is in the present, we say this is the present continuous. If it is in the past, we say this is the past continuous. Means that to be changed, but the present participle keeps the same. I am writing. He is writing. I was writing. He was writing. Writing keeps the same. Now the problem is, how can I transform this to the passive voice? It's very simple. When I conjugated the verb in the present simple, or in the past simple, in the future, in the present perfect, or in the past perfect, in the present continuous, or in the past continuous, I conjugated the verb to collect. I am going to do the same thing in the passive voice with to be. As I conjugated the verb in the active voice in any tense, I am going to conjugate the verb or the auxiliary to be in the same tense, using the same form, whether it is present perfect, past perfect, present continuous, past continuous, future, present simple, or past simple. Here, for example, you can tell me that you can, before we transform, know which tense is used here. Which tense is used here? This is to have plus past participle, so this is perfect. Which perfect? Present or past? I go to have. Have is in the present, so it is the present perfect. I am going to give the present perfect to be. Not very difficult. And of course, enough money. Have plus past participle with to be and present perfect. I give the present perfect to be. Becomes enough money. It has been. What's this? This is the present perfect of to be. Why the present perfect? Because the verb in the active voice was in the present perfect. Plus the past participle. Be plus past participle. Collected. Full stop, because we don't have any information about the actor. By who? By them. Who are them? I don't know, so no need to mention it. Another example. The government should fight corruption. Nepotism, embezzlement, as you want. Should fight, not important, the government subject, should fight verb, and corruption object. So, corruption. Here we have should. As all auxiliary models, should, could, may, might, all auxiliary models. After all auxiliary models, here also with will. After all auxiliary models, the verb is in the infinitive, so I'm going to use the same thing. Do the same thing. Corruption should be, will be, could be, might be, may be, should be, plus the past participle of the verb to fight. Of course, verb to fight is not regular, it is an irregular verb. Here also we should know exactly, we should know by heart the different forms of the irregular verbs in the past simple and past as a past participle. Corruption should be fought by the government. Okay. We try to see another example with the present simple and the present or past continuous, just to have an idea. So, for example, the Algerian customs, laghouat, Jamaica customs are preparing a new plan to fight counterfeiting. We know already what counterfeiting is. We have already seen that. Counterfeiting for scientific streams and even for literary streams. So the Algerian government, the Algerian customs are preparing. Here is my verb. It is be plus verb plus ing. So what is this? This is the continuous. Which continuous? Present continuous or past continuous? I go to be. It is in the present, so it is the present continuous. When I want to transform my sentence to passive voice, we said the three elements are preparing what? A new plan. This is a complement, so keep it as it is. A new plan, present continuous with to be. Here we have the present continuous of the verb to prepare. I do the same thing with to be. A new plan is, because a new plan it is be plus, be is the verb, verb prepare plus ing, also verb to be plus ing is being plus the past participle of the verb, same verb, is being prepared by the Algerian customs, of course, to fight counterfeiting. That's it. Oh, if it is a simple tense, it's okay, no problem. Another example with present simple or with past simple. For example, the pharaohs, as you have seen that in class, the pharaohs built the pyramids 5,000 years ago. For example, 5,000 years ago. So, the pharaohs, subject, built. You can consider that built is not a compound verb like the others. Here we have auxiliary participle with all the other tenses, except for simple tenses, in which we have only one particle, the verb itself. Built is here in the past simple. So I am going to use the same tense, past simple, with to be. So my object is the pyramids. So the pyramids past simple of the verb to build, past simple of the verb to be, where. Okay? Past participle of the verb to build, built. The pyramids were built 5,000 years ago by the pharaohs. So I hope you have got an idea about the passive voice, and you can change from active to passive and go back from passive to active. From passive to active, what are you going to do? It is the other way round. From to be, you take the tense, and from the past participle you have the verb, and you go back with your verb and your tense to the active voice. Means that if you have a passive sentence and you are asked to change it or to turn it into the active, it is very simple. You go to be to know which tense to use, and you go to the past participle to know which verb to use, and then you have the verb and the tense, and you write the sentence the other way round. Thank you very much. See you next. Goodbye.